The tale begins in a dimly lit, unsanctioned operating room where two unethical surgeons are conducting experiments on a pair of critically injured patients. They inject both subjects with an eerie green serum. Moments later, the male patient starts convulsing violently, blood seeping from every opening in his body. The mysterious substance proves too toxic, and both test subjects seemingly perish on the spot. One of the surgeons, clearly disheartened, decides he's had enough. After countless human trials and endless failures, he concludes that the experiment is a dead end. He walks away admitting he never had high hopes for the research to begin with. Before leaving, he firmly states he wants no further part in this madness. But Dr. Shin, the remaining surgeon, isn't so quick to give up. To him, the deaths of these people were inevitable, just a day sooner than expected. In his mind, their lives weren't wasted. They served the noble cause of scientific advancement. He calmly instructs his assistant to leave, saying he'll handle the corpses on his own. Shin stays behind, still obsessed with the idea that his work can succeed. He just needs a better subject. The right one. He's sure of it. Cut to the protagonist of our story, Kang Yi-won, and his buddy Jin Min-hyung. They work at a funeral home handling the transport and preparation of deceased bodies. After some banter and a quick meal, they head out to collect a couple of corpses from the hospital. At the front desk, Yi-won flashes his business card, Hanwoo Funeral Services, and informs the staff they were called in for 2 early morning deaths. Hyung returns from a bathroom break just as they're directed to the morgue. Unbeknownst to them, the bodies they've come to collect are the same ones used in the mysterious experiment. Hyung examines them and remarks that the victims appear to be a father and daughter. According to the records, they died in a car crash, but Yi-won finds something off. The father's body is mangled, sure, but the girl's body? It looks untouched. Aside from a minor gash on her arm, there's no sign of any trauma or surgical work. Hyung brushes off his concerns, reminding him that they're not detectives and should stick to the job. Still curious, Yi-won inspects the girl more closely, even prying her mouth open. As he does, he accidentally cuts himself on one of her jagged teeth. They move on to prepare the father's body for transport, but then Yi-won spots something that makes his blood run cold, that the wound on the girl's arm, it's gone, completely healed. He tells Hyung, who's just as shocked, but before they can react further, Yi-won is overwhelmed by a stabbing pain. He collapses to the floor, clutching his chest, trembling in agony. Hyung rushes to help, but Yi-won's condition rapidly worsens. Whatever infection entered through that small cut is wreaking havoc on his body. He's burning up, muscles locking, heart racing out of control. As his screams echo through the room, he loses consciousness, leaving Hyung helplessly crying out. But then, the girl's body starts to move. Some time passes and Yi-won wakes up, dazed and disoriented. To his horror, he sees the previously lifeless girl pounding her head against the morgue door. The fear hits him like a freight train. But there's something even worse waiting. His friend's body lies nearby, mutilated and soaked in blood. Yi-won is paralyzed with fear as he realizes his own hands are stained red. The girl's movements are jerky and unnatural, but when their eyes meet, she simply turns back and resumes her eerie headbanging. Yi-won glances down at his bloodied palms, the metallic scent now oddly alluring, almost sweet. The room feels warped, like a nightmare, made real. Then, Hyung lets out a faint groan. Desperate, Yi-won tries to rouse him, shaking him and calling his name, but there's no response. His friend remains unconscious, barely hanging on. Determined not to lose him, Yi-won decides to carry him out, hoping there's still time to save him. But as he looks around, it becomes terrifyingly clear. The hospital has fallen into chaos. Blood stains the walls and floors in every direction, with not a single soul in sight. The only sign of life is an old man sobbing quietly in a corner, a young girl's lifeless body resting beside him. Sweat pours down the man's face as dread takes hold. He's convinced no help is coming. Whatever happened here, it's already too late for the world outside. He curses the unknown force behind this carnage. Suddenly, he notices the receptionist twitch. Panicked, the old man bolts from the room, driven by a desperate instinct to survive. Snatching a nearby golf club, he readies himself and charges out, determined to escape this nightmare once and for all. Back in the operating room, Yi-won manages to lift his unconscious friend onto a stretcher, but he's clearly running on fumes. His body is aching and a sharp pain twists in his gut, like a gnawing hunger that feels all too familiar, yet completely out of place. He had eaten just before arriving, so why does it feel like he's starving? The answer is something far darker. His craving isn't for food, it's something much more primal. Blood. Still, he clenches his jaw and starts pushing the stretcher forward. As he steps into the hallway, he encounters the old man with the golf club. Yi Huan, desperate, pleads with him to help his injured friend. But before the man can react, that same deranged girl, the headbanging corpse, comes barreling toward them. Like a predator on the hunt, she lunges for the old man. Yi Huan can only watch in horror as other reanimated corpses swarm in, dragging the old man to the ground and tearing into him with inhuman hunger. Frozen in place, Yi Huan trembles. Then, to his utter disbelief, his friend, Min Hyung, rises from the stretcher. Without hesitation, he stumbles toward the feeding frenzy and joins in. Yi Huan quickly ducks behind the wall, too terrified to do anything else. His heart breaks as he sees the cheerful, goofy friend he once knew now reduced to a mindless monster. Part of him prays that this is just some horrific dream, but no matter how hard he squeezes his eyes shut, reality doesn't fade. And then, he notices something strange. The date. It's April now, but he was sure it was only the 24th when he passed out. Confused, he pulls out his phone, and his worst fear is confirmed. He's been unconscious for 5 whole days. His screen is flooded with missed calls and emotional texts from his sister, Nuna, begging him not to leave the house and pleading with him to stay safe. As he stares at her final message, the battery dies. Yi Huan doesn't know what's happened to the world, but he knows one thing: he can't stay here. If he wants to protect Nuna and Minhee, he needs to get out. Now, somewhere nearby, in a small convenience store, a girl sobs quietly in a storage corner. Outside, the streets are crawling with bloodthirsty corpses. All she can do is wait and hope someone, anyone, will find her. Back at the hospital, Yi Huan sprints down the corridor, down the stairwell. Halfway down, he makes eye contact with the same zombie girl, but keeps moving. Eventually, he bursts out of the building, panting heavily. His body is weak. Starvation is kicking in. Even if he wanted to ignore it, he can't. His body is failing him, and so he begins searching for food. He stumbles upon a convenience store, deserted but still intact, and heads straight in. Like an animal, he rips open snack packages and downs burgers and sodas without thinking. Only after he finishes does he realize how strange it is. He didn't care about the expiration dates, nor did he hesitate, even though he usually detested prepackaged food. He wipes his mouth, only to feel tears rolling down his face. He remembers his friend, now a zombie, and how Min Hyung used to joke about the apocalypse, never imagining he'd become part of one. Suddenly, he hears noise from the storage room in the back. Carefully, he inches closer and peeks inside. There, he finds a terrified girl sobbing, thinking she's about to be attacked. When she turns around and sees Yi Huan's awkward smile, she freezes. He gently offers help. Meanwhile, outside, one of the undead starts staggering toward the store. Inside, Yi Huan gathers what little food he can find and offers it to the girl. She devours it hungrily, barely pausing to breathe. He tells her to slow down or she'll get sick, and she nods, finally full, her panic subsiding. Grateful, she thanks him and asks how he even got in. The question catches him off guard. He shrugs and explains that he was starving, so he rushed into the store. But even to him, the excuse sounds flimsy. After all, outside is swarming with monsters. Suddenly, Yi Huan asks if there's a way to charge his phone. The girl remembers some power banks behind the counter. Just as Yi Huan moves to grab them, she warns him not to open the door. But he reassures her there were no zombies when he arrived. The moment he swings the door open, fate proves him wrong. A nearby zombie catches a glimpse of the girl and lets out a monstrous howl before charging straight at her. Yi Huan instinctively steps between them and shoves the creature. What he thought was a desperate push turns into something else entirely. The zombie goes flying like a rag doll, skidding across the ground. He stares at his hands in disbelief. That wasn't just adrenaline. That was strength. Inhuman strength. The girl behind him freezes, stunned at the raw force she just witnessed, while Yi Huan himself is left equally baffled, completely unsure where this sudden burst of power came from. The creature he struck is down for good, and as the camera of the scene metaphorically zooms out, it's clear that Push was far more brutal and unorthodox than it had any right to be. The zombie didn't just fall, it smashed through a glass panel and was hurled at least 15 feet away. Yi Huan admits he pushed with all his might, but he never thought it would knock the thing out cold. That's when he notices something odd. Since the moment this chaos began, not a single zombie has actively tried to bite or attack him. The girl, still in disbelief, asks about the secret behind his ridiculous strength. She casually calls him Juji, a Korean term for middle-aged men, which immediately irritates Lee Hwan. He doesn't like being lumped into that category and definitely doesn't want to be thought of as some creepy uncle type. Remembering that he came here for a power bank, he walks over to the general goods section. After charging up his phone, he quickly tries to call his older sister Nuna, but no one answers. A wave of dread punches him in the gut. He hates even thinking about the possibility that he might already be too late. Images of Minhee and Nuna flash through his mind, bringing a sting of tears to his eyes, but he shakes it off. Nothing's certain yet. Maybe her phone battery just died, maybe she's hiding somewhere waiting for rescue. Clinging to that hope, he steels himself to go find them. But before heading out, he needs to address the situation with the girl in the store. When he asks if she has a phone, she nods, but it's out of battery. Yu Huan hands her a power bank and tells her to try calling her parents. A few minutes later, she gets through to her mother, tears instantly filling her eyes as she speaks. She quickly assures her mom that she's alive and safe for now. Her mother is overjoyed, though she makes sure to thank the Juji who kept her daughter alive, which again grates on Yu Huan. He's 28, not 48, and it's starting to feel insulting, but the tone shifts when the girl's mother suddenly tells her not to return home, then abruptly hangs up. The daughter's relief collapses into panic and grief as she sobs uncontrollably. Seeing her in such distress, Yi Huan offers to take her with him so he can help her get home safely. Before they can move, though, a commotion draws their attention. More zombies are swarming toward the store. The girl curls in on herself, trembling at the sight, certain there's no way they'll make it out alive. Yu Huan realizes the only option is to clear the way himself. He digs through the shelves for anything useful and fashions a makeshift weapon. Before stepping out, he gives her strict instructions. Don't open this door for anyone until he's back. She begs him not to go, but he closes the door on her pleas and steps outside to face the threat head-on. When he finally returns, the danger is gone. His calm confidence makes the girl's eyes widen in awe. She asks if he's okay, and he answers without hesitation. Better than okay. The fight only strengthened his hunch. These zombies don't seem interested in eating him at all. Later, he wanders into a clothing store, grabs a change of clothes, and freshens up. Outside, luck seems to smile on him. A sleek, heavy-duty motorcycle waits across the street, almost daring him to take it for a spin. Back at the convenience store, the girl changes into the clothes he picked for her. He apologizes, admitting he doesn't know much about women's fashion and just grabbed what looked wearable. With no immediate danger in sight, he starts collecting food for the road. Along the way, he finds a baseball bat and claims it as his new weapon. The girl then questions why he's risking so much for her. They're strangers, and she assumes as an Ajuhi, he must have his own family to protect. First, Yuan's expression turns into a cartoonishly annoyed grimace at the word. Second, he assures her there's no need for guilt. He tells her it's natural to help someone in trouble. One day, he might need saving too. Besides, since these zombies don't seem to bite him, there's not much real danger to his life anyway. Above them, the moon hangs bright and still, spilling a silver glow over the restless undead wandering below. That quiet night air is shattered by the deep roar of a 700cc engine. Behind the handlebars is none other than Yi Huan, taking his newly claimed ride for a spin. Even though the bike growls loudly, the zombies barely react, likely because his presence is masked by the girl clinging to the seat behind him. The road ahead is clear, so he pushes forward, determined to reach his sister, Nuna, and pull her out of this nightmare. Elsewhere, at a lonely gas station, a man crouches inside the small tuck shop, clutching a half-empty water bottle like it's treasure. It's the last thing keeping him going, and he knows it won't last. He curses his rotten luck, trapped in a shop that's already been picked clean of supplies with nowhere to run. Then, the sound of an engine rumbles closer. His heart jumps. Survivors? The noise grows louder until it stops right outside. Peering through the grimy glass, he sees the rider parked casually smack in the middle of zombie territory. The man's anxiety spikes, but instead of panicking, he decides to take the risk and call out to them. Turns out he didn't need to. Yi Huan is already wading through the undead, taking them down like it's nothing. Each swing of his weapon drops a zombie instantly. The man watches in disbelief until one of the creatures sneaks up behind Yi Huan. Before the man can shout a warning, Yi Huan simply steps back and the zombie charges past him as if he's invisible. The man is frozen. What the hell did he just see? The creature doesn't make it far, though. Yihuan's companion swings her bat with such force that it sends the zombie flying like a rag doll. With the area cleared, Yihuan calmly tells the girl there's nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, the man in the shop still can't process what he's just witnessed. It wasn't a trick. Those zombies genuinely weren't trying to bite Yihuan at all. Yihuan heads for the fuel pump to top up the bike. There's still a long road ahead. But before he can finish, the man finally emerges from his hideout, excitement practically radiating off him. To him, this stranger is a once-in-a-lifetime scoop, though Ewan, the girl, doesn't get what he means. The man chugs water greedily, savoring it like it's the best drink he's ever had. Ewan asks how long he's been holed up here, and he admits it's been 3 days. 3 miserable days in a looted shop with nothing left. Meeting these two feels like finding hope in the middle of hell. He introduces himself as Kim Guido, a 32-year-old journalist who's pretty much given up on reporting, because what's there to report when the world's gone to hell? The girl is Park Gina, a 20-year-old university freshman, and finally there's Yihuan, 28, who reluctantly admits he used to be a mortician. Guido says he doesn't look the part, while Gina stares at him with mild surprise. Turns out she's just relieved he's not the creepy middle-aged uncle she assumed he was. The journalist learns they met through a random chain of events that led to the convenience store. Yihuan chuckles at the fact they never even exchanged names until now. Guido sympathizes with what they've been through. Being trapped with death lurking outside is a horror he knows all too well. But there's something else gnawing at his curiosity. He bluntly asks about Yihuan's strange ability, the way zombies completely ignore him. Outside, the dead groan and shuffle, searching for their next meal. Inside, Yihuan begins his story, how he was unconscious in a morgue for 5 days, only waking to discover the apocalypse already in full swing. The last thing he remembers is falling ill, then blacking out completely. The journalist scribbles notes as Yihuan recounts how he escaped the hospital and met Gina shortly afterward. From Guido's perspective, Gina had been searching for her family during that time. It becomes clear that neither of them truly knows the full scope of what happened in those missing days, a fact Guido calls a small mercy. When Gina nervously asks why, his answer chills the room. Within that short span, the entire planet had fallen to the undead. His voice turns grim as he paints the picture. The first 48 hours were pure chaos. Ordinary people transformed into flesh-hungry monsters, and most died without even realizing what was happening. The worst part? Many were hunted by the very people they loved. Gina's eyes well with tears, the horror sinking in. Realizing he might have gone too far, the journalist quickly apologizes, trying to soften his words by saying her family could still be safe. After all, they did hear her mother's voice. He insists they'll see each other again, though Gina's reply carries uncertainty. Shifting the conversation, Yihuan asks about Guido's own situation. The journalist admits his profession doesn't mean much now. He'd been chasing a lead about the cause of the outbreak, a gamble that ended with his car running out of gas, leaving him stranded here. Yihuan presses him for his findings, but Guido waves the question away, distracted by something more urgent. A sudden noise draws his attention. To his left, a cluster of zombies hammers against the window, snarling. The realization hits all 3 of them. They can't leave the station without walking straight into that mob. Yihuan immediately suggests they stop wasting time and get moving. The bike won't work here, so he asks Guido where his car is. It's just a short walk away, parked on the roadside. The problem is surviving that short walk. Gripping a makeshift club, Yihuan says he'll clear a path and the others can block the door behind him. Guido protests. It's reckless to risk himself like that, but Yihuan points out the obvious. The undead don't bite him. Turning to Gina, he flashes a small, reassuring smile, promising to get her home just like he said before. She takes a breath and tells him to drop the formalities. Just call her by her name. The corner of his mouth lifts and he repeats her name before stepping toward the danger. Off to the side, Guido watches like an awkward third wheel caught in a tense moment. Outside, the undead weren't expecting a lone human to walk straight into their ranks. With a determined glare, Yihuan announces he won't let a single one get inside. The mob roars, but he tears through them with frightening force. One unfortunate zombie gets smashed into a wall so hard it looks personal. As he fights, Yihuan realizes something deeper. It's not just that they're not biting him, it's as if they don't even register he exists. The thought nags at him, but there's no time to dwell on it. His focus is on holding the line. Watching through the window, Guido is on edge. He notices the same strange immunity, but also that Yihuan's strength is unnaturally high. Still, the constant slamming and swinging start to wear him down. A gnawing hunger creeps in, the same as before, like he hasn't eaten in days even though he had a meal not long ago. Determined to finish the job, Yihuan keeps battering the horde, thinking only of clearing them out and finding food to replenish himself. But then his eyes land on Gina, frozen in fear. Something inside him wavers. His knees buckle, and he drops down in the middle of the chaos. Guido stares, baffled, while Gina's worry spikes. Yihuan doesn't understand what just came over him, only that his thoughts suddenly, disturbingly, centered on her. And then it hits him with a cold shock. He's feeling an overwhelming urge to consume human flesh. In that moment, Yihuan realizes he's not so different from the creatures outside. The hunger clawing at him makes sense of why they seem to ignore him entirely. Gina, alarmed, moves to rush out and help, but Guido quickly blocks her path, pointing out that it would be suicide to interfere. While they argue, Yihuan forces himself upright and launches back into the fray, battering his way through the horde with relentless swings. The fight ends with him grinding a zombie's skull into the pavement, his chest heaving, eyes wild. He knows this isn't good. Even from a distance, Guido can sense something's off. The doubt gnaws at Yihuan. He tells himself he's not one of them, he's still human. Or at least, that's what he wants to believe. Then, with a red glint flickering in his gaze, he vows never to become a monster. Strangely, once he downs an absurd amount of water, the temptation fades. Gina worries he's been injured, but he assures her he's fine. No bites, no scratches. The journalist, however, is quick to point out that fighting and killing so many undead in one go is no small feat. Still, the strange hunger leaves behind a sharp, twisting pain in his gut. Choosing not to dwell on it, Yihuan suggests they use Guido's car to get out. They could easily scavenge a gas can nearby, refuel, and make a run for it. Yihuan proposes moving as a group, warning them how risky it is to split up. That's when a man bursts onto the scene, yelling for help. Somehow he survived the earlier attack, but his companion is badly wounded. Yihuan sizes him up. His fear looks genuine. Even so, trust is dangerous in a world like this. Guido advises caution, suspecting they could be trouble. Gina, however, pushes back, insisting they should still help. Yihuan sides with her despite the risk. Guido eventually relents, and Gina unlocks the door, letting the men inside. They're grateful, outwardly, at least. She hands them water and asks about their situation. Suspicious as ever, Guido asks the obvious. Was the injured one bitten? The stockier man hastily pulls back his clothes to show no marks. Another points out that if he had been bitten, he'd already be one of the undead by now. Still, the journalist isn't convinced and presses for details on their survival plan. Turns out, they don't have one. They were just desperate to get their friend help. Guido's sharp tone pushes Gina over the edge. She snaps at him to focus on helping rather than interrogating. After all, Yihuan was the one who chose to bring them in. One of the men, sweating nervously, thanks them for their kindness. Guido softens a little, admitting maybe he was too hard on them. Yihuan changes the subject, asking if Guido's car is an SUV. It is, which means all five could fit without trouble.